Okay, the moment of truth. You just hit send on that big press release, maybe a product launch, funding news, something important anyway. You got the confirmation, fine, but now the real question hits. Did it actually do anything? Did it work?
Right.
For way too long, I think, the answer was just, counting those huge impression numbers. They look great on a report, sure.
They always look fantastic on paper.
Exactly, but they don't really tell you if they drove any kind of business result. So our mission today is clear. We're ditching the vanity metrics. We're going deep on how you measure the real tangible return on your PR investment.
Yeah, it's absolutely the essential evolution for PR. We really have to move past just tracking, like distribution reach. That number tells you how many people might have potentially seen it.
Might have, yeah.
But it just stops short. It doesn't measure intent. It doesn't measure action. Think of impressions like counting cars driving past a billboard. Did the driver even look?
Good analogy.
Who knows? So if you're serious about justifying that PR budget and actually refining your strategy, you need a more, let's say, multidimensional view. And that means combining real engagement rates, looking really carefully at media quality, tracking hard data like website traffic, and folding in things like sentiment analysis too.
And that really means, for you listening, this isn't just about showing pretty graphs. It's about making informed decisions, understanding exactly how your audience behaves when they see your message, and proving that PR actually drives value. It's not just some expensive awareness thing. Okay, let's unpack this. This shift from counting eyeballs to tracking real influence.
Right. So we need to anchor this straight away. We need measurable indicators that link directly to business outcomes. The guesswork just has to go.
Yeah.
As soon as you shift focus from, say, impressions to something like conversion rate, you fundamentally change the question you're asking. You go from, did they maybe see us, to, did they take action because of us?
And that is the difference, isn't it? Between a number that looks good and data you can actually use. Can your metrics answer? Did this generate qualified leads? Did it build real brand authority? Did it influence buying decisions?
Exactly.
So we've pinpointed 7 key performance indicators, KPIs, that really every serious PR pro should be tracking. This is basically your essential checklist for actionable data.
Okay, let's walk through these foundational 7 because they really need to work together. First up is media pickups. That's the basic count, how many outlets published your story.
Okay, the count.
But right alongside that, you must look at domain authority.
Yeah.
It's the quality score of the websites featuring your content. It's about credibility, the long-term visibility boost, not just a quick SEO bump.
Right, quality matters there. Then we have the pair, reach and impressions. That still gives you the theoretical size of the audience.
That's a potential, yeah.
The potential size. But that number is pretty much meaningless without the third KPI, click-through rate, or CTR. That's the actual percentage of readers who are interested enough to click a link you embedded. CTR is really that bridge between just seeing something and showing intent.
Exactly. And moving into what the audience actually does, we track social engagement. So shares, comments, reactions, that's audience endorsement, amplification.
Yeah, people putting your name to it.
And crucially, referral traffic. This tells you who's coming to your website specifically because they clicked a link in that press release or the resulting news story.
Okay, tracking the source. And finally, the big one. The ultimate measure of business impact, conversion rate.
The bottom line.
Right. The percentage of those visitors, the ones referred by PR, who actually do what you wanted them to do, sign up for the newsletter, request a demo, maybe even buy something. Now, a question for the listener, maybe on a smaller team. Tracking all 7 might feel like a lot. If you had to prioritize, which one KPI should absolutely replace impressions as the bare minimum?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
If I had to pick just one metric, or maybe a pair, to replace the vanity of impressions, it would have to be referral traffic combined with conversion rate.
Okay.
Because impressions are cheap, right? No. But qualified visitors who actually convert, that's PR gold. Focusing on those two forces you to write stories that don't just get published, but actually move people to your site to do something.
Right. Action-oriented. Okay, so we have our list of metrics. But how do we make sure these numbers represent real human engagement, not just, a passive view or a bot click? Let's dig deeper into engagement, starting with that vital CTR.
Yeah, CTR is that first real moment of truth. It tells you point blank, did your headline and your core message resonate enough for someone to actually click? And we have some decent benchmarks here.
All right.
Generally, a CTR below, say, 1% usually means the message just doesn't landing. It probably needs a serious rethink.
Yeah.
But when you start hitting rates above 3%, That shows strong, validated interest.
3%, okay.
Yeah, and you should absolutely double down on that message, that angle in your future campaigns if you see that.
That's a powerful target, 3%. But, okay, once they click, the engagement needs to continue, right? The first sign of public endorsement is probably social shares and comments. And you mentioned quality here, not just quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000 shares are kind of useless if they're just silent retweets. What you really want is meaningful discussion. People actually talking about it. That shows the content sparked thought, not just passive scrolling.
Right, actual conversation.
And if they do land on your page, your dedicated page, hopefully, you need to know if they actually read it, if they absorb the info. That's where time on page becomes really important.
How long are they sticking around?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If your Google Analytics shows an average session duration of like less than 30 seconds, that's probably a bounce. They glanced, they left. For deeper engagement, you really want to aim for an average of maybe 2 to 3 minutes. That suggests the reader didn't just skim the headline. They actually consumed the content you worked hard to prepare.
2 to 3 minutes. That's a good benchmark. Now, beyond the immediate audience interaction, the publication itself, where the story appears, carries huge weight. We need to talk about assessing media coverage quality, because getting picked up in the wrong place can be, well, almost useless, right?
Oh, quality is everything. It's absolutely critical. When you're planning, you have to compare industry-specific media versus mainstream media.
What's the difference in impact?
Well, say you're launching new software, a feature in TechCrunch. That hits a targeted, probably B2B decision-maker audience. It's like a laser beam.
Right, focused.
A mention in, say, the New York Times. That gives you broad, maybe unparalleled awareness, but your very specific niche message might get a bit diluted for the general reader. That's more like a wide net.
So different tools for different goals.
Precisely. Which one is more valuable depends entirely on what you're trying to achieve with that specific release.
And this feeds right into the top-tier placement advantage. Let's be blunt. One feature in Forbes or a major industry journal probably carries way more weight than, say, 20 placements on unknown blogs with low authority.
Exponentially more weight, absolutely. And that weight comes from a few things. One, enhanced credibility just by association with a respected brand name.
Trust factor.
Huge trust factor. It generates genuine audience trust. And critically, that association gives you superior long-term domain authority benefits for SEO. A high-authority link doesn't just drive qualified traffic today. It helps sustain your visibility for months, maybe even years, by boosting your overall SEO health. So yeah, you have to prioritize quality over sheer quantity. Quality drives qualified traffic and builds lasting credibility.
Okay, so if the ultimate goal is a business result, driving traffic, getting leads, we need the right tools to isolate the exact value that press release generated on our website. How do we make sure we're not confusing PR traffic with, say, organic search or social media ads?
Yeah, you need granular tracking. It's just non-negotiable here. You absolutely must use UTM parameters.
Those little codes on the end of links.
Exactly. Those small tracking codes you append to the end of your links in the press release. So for instance, you might tag a link going out via, say, the Wall Street Journal differently than one you send to a niche industry blog.
Okay.
Then you monitor these specific sources directly through the acquisition reports and Google Analytics. Without UTMs, you're basically just guessing where that traffic came from.
Right, it gets lost in the mix. That granular detail then lets us zero in on the conversion rate from PR campaigns. If the release is really working, it has to lead to those desired actions. And you mentioned dedicated landing pages.
Yes. Best practice absolutely demands dedicated landing pages for each major campaign. Think about it. If you send high-quality, targeted traffic from a specific story to just your generic homepage,
And get lost.
they get lost. You muddy the data, you dilute the conversion potential massively. A dedicated page keeps the message consistent and the path to action clear.
And this creates a kind of closed-loop system for improving things.
Exactly, an optimization loop. You analyze the bounce rates and the session duration specifically from your PR referrals, source by source. If, say, the Wall Street Journal sends you a ton of traffic, but the bounce rate on that landing page is like 85%.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, big red flag. You've got a major mismatch between what the journalist wrote or implied and what people are seeing when they land on your page. You need to fix that consistency, reduce friction immediately.
Okay, so let's talk about the big number everyone wants, ROI, return on investment. How do we actually calculate that? I mean, acknowledging it's always a bit tricky to put a hard dollar value on PR.
It is tricky, but you have to try. It requires assigning some kind of monetary value to the outcomes. You start by adding up all your campaign costs, writer fees, distribution services, maybe the value of your team's time spent on it.
Okay, the inputs.
Right. Then you quantify the value generated.
Right.
So if your press release directly drove, let's say, 50 qualified leads, and you know from your sales team that your average lifetime customer value is, say, $500. Well, that's $25,000 in potential revenue right there. If your campaign costs $2,000, well, that looks like a pretty fantastic 1,150% ROI.
Okay, 1,150%, that sounds amazing. But we probably need a little caution flag there, right? Getting that number relies heavily on your UTMs being set up perfectly.
Totally.
Your landing page is tracking accurately and, maybe most importantly, reliably figuring out lead quality, which is often the hardest part.
Exactly right. Attribution is rarely perfectly clean. You could also look at what are often called softer benefits, like earned media value or EMV.
Ah, yes, EMV.
This basically compares what it would have cost to buy equivalent advertising space in the publication that covered your story versus what you actually spent on the PR effort. However, big caution here, EMV is a really heavily debated metric.
Why is that?
Because it compares earned trust, a news story, to the cost of a paid ad. Apples and oranges, really. It often leads to these hugely inflated, kind of meaningless numbers. So we generally recommend treating EMV as maybe a directional data point, but definitely not your primary ROI measure.
Got it. Focus on the attributable actions first. Okay, once we've kind of mastered attribution, we can get into more advanced analysis, like gauging public perception. That leads us to sentiment analysis, PR.
Yeah, this is where we move beyond just counts and look at the language being used. Tools like Brandwatch, Sprout Social, others. They can automatically categorize discussions about your brand across news, social media, blogs as positive, negative, or neutral.
So not just mentions, but the tone of the mention.
Precisely. And it's absolutely critical to analyze the context. You know, a sudden spike in mentions isn't always good news if the sentiment is tanking. You need to know. Are journalists, are people online actually conveying the key messages you intended? Or are they missing the point? Or worse?
And that language analysis can give you really deep, actionable insights, right? For product teams, comms people.
Oh, absolutely. For instance, say a product launch gets tons of buzz, really positive about its innovative design.
Great.
But there's also widespread confusion or negativity about its complex pricing. That gives you a clear, data-driven signal on where you need to pivot your messaging, maybe clarify things on your website or brief your sales team differently. It guides reputation management in near real time.
Okay, but managing all this data, Google Analytics, social platforms, media monitoring tools, it sounds like it could easily lead to serious data overload. Spreadsheets everywhere.
Oh, it definitely can. It's a nightmare if you do it manually.
Right.
And that's exactly why unified dashboards are becoming pretty much essential now, instead of spending hours manually compiling data.
Yeah, copy-paste?
Copy-pasting into spreadsheets. These dashboards aggregate everything into one visual, ideally actionable interface.
The efficiency gain must be huge. You shift your team from just admin compilation to actual strategic thinking, looking at the patterns.
Exactly. And these dashboards allow for really powerful visual comparisons. You can easily compare coverage rates across different markets, or overlay sentiment trends with website traffic spikes, or isolate how one specific distribution channel performed versus another. It makes the insights jump out.
So where is this all heading? What are the current cutting-edge trends in PR analytics?
Well, the industry is definitely shifting, valuing depth way more than just breadth now. The most modern approaches are tracking really granular details, like lead quality scores coming specifically from press release traffic.
Okay.
Detailed audience demographics of who engaged, and achieving direct attribution to specific stages in the sales pipeline, usually through CRM integration.
Connecting PR directly to sales stages. And what about the future? Are we seeing even more advanced methods emerging?
Yeah, we're moving beyond just reporting into prediction. The future definitely includes more predictive analytics and AI-powered tools.
AI in PR measurement.
Absolutely. Machine learning algorithms are already being used to help predict which story angles, even which specific phrases, and which distribution channels are likely to appeal most effectively to certain audience segments.
Wow.
And probably the biggest trend overall is that seamless integration between PR platforms and CRM systems, creating true cross-channel attribution models that can finally link a media mention to maybe a related social media conversation to a website visit and ultimately track it all the way to a confirmed sale, the whole journey.
Okay, so to wrap this up, the core message for you, the listener, is that effective tracking today needs a really dynamic, adaptive approach. You have to balance those hard, granular numbers, like aiming for that 3% CTR benchmark, with the
Yeah.
softer narrative context, like the quality and authority of where you got placed. Static dashboards, their history.
Hmm.
It's all about constant optimization driven by real-time feedback and those clear business-linked KPIs we talked about.
And that constant feedback loop, really powered by integrating PR tracking with CRM systems, that's the key. It finally allows organizations to link media mentions directly to specific touch points in the customer journey. It provides that complete, hopefully undeniable understanding of how PR impacts the actual business outcomes.
So what does this all mean for you as you think about designing your next measurement framework? If the future, as you said, involves AI predicting the exact recipe for maximum resonance down to the specific language and story angles guaranteed to appeal to niche audiences, well, that raises a pretty big question, doesn't it?
It does.
How does knowing the exact recipe for maximum resonance change the strategic relationship between a brand and the news media? And what new ethical lines might need to be drawn when content is increasingly engineered purely for predictable engagement? Something to definitely mull over as you refine your framework.